Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi, author of 10 young adult novels so far. Welcome to week 4 of the Get Grounded Challenge. This week is vulnerability, and so it's not actually about writing specifically, it's more focused on the writer, and we have 3 questions, vulnerability prompts, that we can both journal, which I did today, and then also practicing vulnerability, post in our Slack channel and interact with the other hedgies in the writing community, and yeah, do some vulnerability things. So I kicked it off today, which I think is kind of my job as the coach of the Get Grounded Challenge. Yeah, I was the first one to answer the question. I hope other people participate and will be, practicing a little vulnerability. But anyway, started that. So I've done that aspect of it. And the next question is going to be on, I think Wednesday is when I have it posted, and then the other one's later in the week. There's only 3 because we've been doing less days technically every day of the challenge, and there's only 3 days, and all 3 of those days are journaling an answer to a question and then practicing vulnerability by sharing our answers with each other, and interacting with each other, supporting each other, encouraging each other, so it's not writing specific related, but what I'm doing writing this week is working to build a timeline. I got about 6 chapters into building a timeline last week, so that I have all the events in the places that they belong in a calendar, basically, and I can see helpful information like what time of year is it, because a lot of stuff happens outside in this book. A lot of traveling happens outside, and I need to know if they're traveling in the middle of winter or if they're traveling in summer, because those are 2 very different things. That will give them different obstacles to overcome. That will provide me with different things to describe when trying to show the reader the world that they are in. So I really need to know that information, which I don't have from book 1, and I made a guess last week. I skimmed through all of book 1 to try and find the information that I needed of like what year is it, what time of year is it, what is happening. There wasn't a lot of helpful information, turns out. So I just decided what time of year it was, and we're rolling with it. But I only made it 6 chapters through reading Cindy's book and compiling all of the different events that happen. And then once I have all the events, I'm going to plug them into a calendar, essentially. So that's what's happening this week. I hope to get it done by Saturday, but I don't know. It was a long, tedious 2 hours that I spent on 6 chapters on Friday. So I don't know if I'll actually get it done this week, which is okay. Preferably I'd like to get it done and not have to do it next week as well, because it wasn't super fun. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that will look like, so we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But that's what we're doing. Yeah. I don't have a ton of time today, so I'm thinking I'll probably just do chapter 7 today, because I do have other things I need to do. But I did the journaling thing, I did yoga, because that's what I started doing. I did a new, practice today. I did like a 15-minute really easy, just like some flexibility movement, mostly sitting down the whole time. Anyway, it was very nice. It's not quite as intense as being upside down like I was last week, although that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, yeah, it was just like a little video that I found on YouTube, and it was nice, and I think I'm gonna keep doing that 15-minute one for the rest of this week. And then next week I'll see how I'm feeling or what my schedule looks like timing-wise. The hour-long prickle that I was doing for the first 3 weeks of the challenge, it was great. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and with each week I was able to do more, like getting upside down, so I was clearly like getting stronger, that sort of thing, and I was really enjoying it. But I did notice I was getting a little bored, I guess, through the first part of it, because that was the part that I did the most. I was doing as much as I could do the first week, and then I kept going a little bit further. So I don't know if I was doing like 15-20 minutes that first week, and then by last week, week 3, I did get through the whole hour of the prickle, and I was finally able to do the upside down things. Anyway, the point is, I was doing a little bit more and a little bit stronger and whatever in those weeks, but I went over the first, 15-20 minutes of it every single time, and I only did like the last 30 minutes of it or whatever a couple of times in the last week. So the beginning portion, here's the point of what I'm saying, the beginning portion, it was getting boring to me. It was like I'd done it too many times. So I thought maybe I'll spice it up and do something different this time, which I did. But also it wasn't as intense, like didn't move my body as much or do as much like strength balance kind of things. It was just more like gentle stretching, releasing some tension like in the shoulders, hips, that sort of thing. Anyway, it was good. It was lovely, but it was more gentle stretching and less of a workout, which is how I felt doing the other one, because I was like, whoa, my body is so tired. My thighs hurt. So, I don't know. I guess there's pros and cons to both. Anyway, I don't always have an hour, so I went with a 15-minute one this time, which I think is more feasible on a day-to-day basis. And also I was getting slightly bored having done the other one for 3 straight weeks. But there's things about the other one that I preferred, or want to see more of. So anyway, I don't know. I think I'll just keep playing with it, and I don't know, do different things, do whatever I want. I don't know. Anyway, I guess if I have an hour, I'll go back to the hour-long prickle. But otherwise, I'll just find things that work. In other news, I was editing last week's vlog so that I could put it up. Let me just pull this up right now. So I could put it up on YouTube. And this sucker, hey, yeah, that one, is, like almost an hour long. It's very long. I had a lot to say last week. I think mostly it was the day that I lost my mind realizing that the first draft took 3 years to write. And most of my first drafts take a month to write. And so that just really blew my mind, and I couldn't stop talking about it. I didn't talk about it the whole hour, but that did lengthen the video a great deal. It's just kind of funny it's just kind of funny to me because the first week was a 30-minute video, which is kind of typical for my writing vlogs, to be honest. I mean, sometimes they're much shorter, but 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, that's pretty typical. And then week 2 was only 7 minutes. Like, I had nothing to say in that video. And then it's just really funny to me that I went from the 7-minute video to almost an hour for week 3. I could not stop talking. Which I suppose is a good thing. It means I was making progress and I was interested in talking about it, but wow. It's a big difference. And it's gonna take 30 minutes to upload, it says. How fun. I am trying to build a timeline here, and it doesn't help when Cassie is saying things like, the days and weeks pass as we draw closer to single state. That's wonderful. How many days, Cassie? How many weeks? Where am I supposed to put this on the timeline? Where does this belong? How long did you travel? What? Do I just guess? It's my world, I can do whatever I want, but like, what am I supposed to do with that? If I'm trying to build a specific timeline, okay, am I putting this like, days and weeks are passing, also Cindy's traveling, right? Does Cindy meet up with Book 3's character prior to or after? Like, are her days and weeks the same days and weeks? Or does Cassie's take longer to get all the way back to single state? I don't know, man. Probably that one, but I don't know. That was so unhelpful of me. What am I supposed to do with that? It's fine. It's totally fine. This is not a struggle I have had in a long time. Because, with the Robin Hood books, I had built a timeline 10 years ago. And then with every successive book I was writing, I was just adding to the timeline I already had. And then when I came back to rewrite them, you know, I had a calendar that spans 100 years and has all these details in it. And so when I was adding new scenes to the new books, I was just like filling it in on the calendar that already existed. Which is not a thing in this book. And that's really unhelpful. It's also making me nervous about my Messiah series. Being like, dude, I need to go make a calendar for that ASAP. Because I do not want to have to deal with this. But also, I imagine that one's going to be much more specific and not like days and weeks and time, indiscriminate. Nah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I did chapter 7 and it was very short, so then I also did chapter 8. And now I started chapter 9 and that's when I ran into the days and weeks pass. Great. Thanks for that information. Anyway, I'm gonna finish chapter 9 and then I'm gonna call it good for today. I believe that's the end of Cassie's section. Maybe chapter 10 is the end. Doesn't matter. I'm trying to get through Cassie's little section, and just get those events written down so I can go back to Cindy at some point. Ugh. This is a chapters edited, sticker, but it's the best I can do. So I just wrote timeline and then the pages that I did, and retrospectively I added one over here on Friday when I did 1 through 6, and as well as reading 25 in the epilogue. That day was busy. But yeah, it's going well, to be honest. I mean, week 2 is probably going to be the smallest week of the month, writing-wise, with those 3 days. Because I expect, I anticipate that I won't be crazy busy like I was those 2 days. And so I'll be able to do a fair amount of writing this week, and that will be the only week that's kind of empty. But yeah. We're up to, oh, I said 10, but I actually did 11. Let me fix that. We're up to chapter 12, in fact. Of 25, so almost halfway there already, actually. But Cassie's was easy. Except for the fact that I don't know how many days and weeks, and I'm just gonna make a guess. There's only 3 events to highlight. with my cat's help, I went through chapters 12 through 16, and filled in a little bit more of the timeline. It does seem that the meeting with Hope does happen prior to Cassie and Colin getting where they're going, which I think works. Doesn't really bother me, but it's good information to have in terms of the timeline. Those 4 chapters all seem to be the same day, just like different major events happening once we get with the character from book 3. So I don't feel like I made it super far on the timeline, since I only added 1 addition, like day-wise, and then I just kept writing things under the same day and being like, oh, and then this happened, oh, and then this happened, oh, and then also this happened, from those 4 chapters, but I'm gonna pause there. So we'll start chapter 17 tomorrow, I hope, and go from there. I've been doing a few chapters each day, so I think by the end of this week we should be done. I mean, I have 8 more chapters to read through, plus the epilogue, so yeah, I don't know, by the next couple of days I should be done with compiling the list of events, and then I can create the actual calendar and like put the events into places on said calendar, and then we'll be good. I have a cat in my lap. Hello? You cozy? In other news, that I haven't really talked about yet, in vlogs, I am going to the homeschool conventions, the one I go to every year, plus the Kansas City one that I had last year, soon, next weekend, anyway, so, updates on that. There was a shot in one of these vlogs of me counting inventory, and I didn't explain it at all. There's just a shot of me being like, look, stacks of books. But that was me counting inventory in order to buy more, restock, which I've done. Inventory hasn't come in yet, but I have fancy polos now, which I could show you, but I'd have to move my cat on my lap, so I can't. And then earlier, sometime last year, question mark, we got pens to wear for me and for my family members that frequently help in my booths. Anyway, we're gonna be very fancy this year, which we've never been before, but we're gonna be so fancy this year. So the polos have basically my logo on it. They had to adjust it slightly to do the embroidery, but essentially it has my logo on it. And then, yeah, and then the pins do as well, but then they have like my name, and mine says author, and then my brother's, I don't remember what his says, manager maybe or something. And then my sister says moral support on it. Anyway, it's just kind of silly, but we have all of those things. And I'm waiting on inventory to come in, and then also a restock on bookmarks, because I'm basically out of those. And then I'm going to a convention next week, and I don't know, like 12 days or something. I don't know, I can't do the math. I'm so tired, you guys. I'm having a really chill, I would say lazy, except I've been doing things, afternoon. I'm just tired and I don't really have energy, you know, but I am getting things done. I did a little bit of my stretching yoga-ness prior to writing, which was nice. I'm doing like a 15-minute, like super chill routine this week, which is very quiet, just some stretching of the legs. There's not a lot going on. We're not getting upside down. And so it's nice. It's a nice sort of like reset, releasing some tension in like shoulders, hips, whatever. But it's not, I'm not walking away feeling like I did a workout, which is what I previously felt like. Anyway, pros and cons. I don't know. But it was super chill is what I'm saying. And then reading through these 4 chapters, it was just kind of like a quiet, not a lot going on kind of thing. I'm just reading my tea. It's kind of dreary outside. I don't know if you can see out that window. There's too much light. This camera's not super fancy. Wait, it's coming into focus. It's just kind of cloudy and dreary and looks like February, you know? My cat is doing something. Why are you grabbing me? Or my hair? You're eating my hair. Why? Yeah, okay, you're attached, kitten. Why are you being crazy? Anyway, I'm gonna drink my tea, and switch gears from creative brain to different creative brain and do some lesson planning for my preschool job, before I completely run out of steam. But I wanted to update, because I realized, like, stuff was coming in for the conventions, and I was like, I haven't actually talked about this at all, except I had that one clip of all the books stacked up when I was counting inventory, but I didn't explain that. I don't even know which vlog that was in. Was that like week 2 or something? I don't know. Anyway, I have nothing. My brain isn't here. I'd like to be sleeping. Oh, hi kitten. She's been very helpful during this whole writing session. She likes that pencil. She also almost fell off of this. Yep, just like that. It's not on the desk, which is all the way over there. It's like, the desk is here. There's a lot of it that's just like hanging off, and she keeps trying to put her weight on it. Okay, I finished going through the events that are happening, and now I get to build a calendar based off of these very vague descriptions of time passing. So that's exciting. I'm not doing that today because this was all I could manage for today. But we did finish. We got through the whole book. So huzzah. I have no energy this week, you guys. This video is going to be, I don't want to say a downer, but I'm just like, I'm just not here for it. I'm doing the thing. I'm mostly sleeping through doing the thing. There's not a lot of me this week, but we did it. And it's only Wednesday, so there may be more yet that I do in terms of building the calendar timeline before the end of this week. We'll see. Hello! Wow, that was a weird way to say hi, but, I got the first, what I assume is inventory. So, we're gonna open this up and see if that's what it is. Oh yeah, those are books for sure. It's a good thing this, cardboarder's here when I, cut to open things. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. This is gonna get exciting, folks. Hi, Thursday's update. I did the short little gentle stretching, and my goodness, my body is so tense this week. And now I'm actually doing the vulnerability question, the next one, because I'd done one, but I hadn't done the second one, yet. So I'm doing that, actually. I did some journaling of it, and then I posted it in the Slack. This one is about what fears are hindering your writing or your writing process. And I think the biggest one that I wrestle with, I don't know if it's a fear per se, but it's just like questions, hesitancy, is mostly around like labeling my Christian fiction as such. Because I get I get really wrapped up with these questions of like, if I label, so Robin Hood, for example, is Christian fiction, but if I label it as such, if I market it as such, which it is, but will that be like putting off potential readers who won't read it because it says Christian fiction, who otherwise might have picked it up off a shelf and read it and enjoyed it, but they're not going to try it because it says Christian fiction? And then also, not everything that I write is Christian fiction. Like Messiah's series, for example, is not going to be specifically Christian fiction. It's certainly going to have themes of forgiveness and redemption and yada yada. You're probably going to be able to tell that a Christian author wrote it, but it's not Christian fiction, and it's not allegory. Like it's not Christian fiction. It's not like a fantasy like Narnia, for example, or I mean, not even like C.S. Wrong author. That was Narnia. Not even like Tolkien. That's the other one. Which is not necessarily Christian fiction, but you can definitely, like, I mean, you can see it. You can, see the parallels. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, not everything that I write is Christian fiction. And so then there's the hesitant, whatever, of like, am I putting off the Christian demographic who reads my books by writing things that aren't labeled Christian fiction, or am I putting them off by not marketing, like Robin Hood, for example? I don't always strenuously market as Christian fiction, even though it is Christian fiction. And so am I putting off the Christian readers by not putting it out there that that's what it is? Like, am I losing out on readers in this demographic because I'm trying to not put off readers in that demographic? Anyway, I wrestle with that kind of thing a lot, and I've never really come around to like what I want to do about it. And in terms of like my Christian fiction and my not Christian fiction, I don't really want to have like two author personas, have like another pen name for the books that are Christian fiction and the books that aren't Christian fiction and have them separated. I don't want to do that. I write both. And you're welcome to read both. Like, I don't... Anyway, yeah, but if I have both and I'm not clearly separating them, I don't know. What is that doing? Where am I, like, alienating readers because of that? Or not reaching readers because of that? I don't know. That sort of thing I wrestle with a lot. I don't know if I would call it a fear necessarily, but maybe that's part of it. But that sort of questioning of all of these things with labels or not labeling or whatever, like even on my YouTube channel here, I don't talk about the fact that like the Robin Hood books are Christian fiction very often, but they are, and it would probably reach more Christian readers if I did talk about it as such. Anyway, I don't know. So that sort of thing, I don't know. I've never really come to a satisfactory conclusion about, but yeah, that's what I was journaling about and then sharing with my sisters in the writing community. We'll see if they have any helpful advice. They don't have to, but I am curious to see if anyone has anything to say. Yeah, it is interesting. There's a lot less participation this week. In week 1, Movement Week had the most participation, with people talking about how they were incorporating movement into their writing routine. But every week since then, and maybe it's just the like, as you get further into challenges, your excitement, motivation for whatever for the challenge tapers off, which is why we do things like the taper caper, where our challenges get smaller intentionally, because we know that your motivation is also going to go down. But it is interesting to me that, like, so far, it's Thursday of week 4. Are we in week 4? That's the week we're on? It's Thursday. The week is almost out. And so far, only one person has participated with me, like, in the messaging together. I don't know if people are journaling on their own, through the workbook thing. But yeah, I do find it interesting that only one person so far has jumped into the, like, actually being vulnerable and sharing. Just a note. We have one more question, because there's 3 this week. We have one more question for the writer, about fears and writing life and whatever. And then that will be the end of the prompts for this week. Curious if anyone else will jump in before the end of the week. Maybe not. Who knows? And then next week is... What is next week? Acceptance is the last week, so what are we missing in the middle? Oh, deep community! We're doing deep community next week. You know what begets deep community? Vulnerability, people. Yeah, next week is deep community. Yeah, which will just be making time intentionally at least 2 times to spend time with people in the Hedgie house. Getting on a new prickle, or reaching out to someone you haven't talked to, or whatever. Anyway, that sort of thing. It's 1 week until convention, and I have the first set of inventory. Obviously, I already have inventory, which was a clip that I shared in a different vlog, I don't remember which one, of the books that I currently have the night that I was counting them so I could see what I needed to order. But the first box came in of the books that were ordered, and more should be arriving tomorrow, and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, you know what I need to do? I need to double check that not that you care about this at all, that I've updated my details from the convention last year. Ooh, where would I have that? Author life. Oh, vendor info. That seems like the... Yeah. This one was like, how many books have I sold and which books am I selling? Obviously, it's The Legend of the Thief. That's when it was Lucy's Legend, and then when it was rewritten to The Legend of the Thief, that is my top-selling book. Anyway, I need to make sure I did the 2020, I didn't! I don't have a 2025 page! My goodness, I need to fix this. Update on yesterday, because I didn't film this part yet last night. What am I trying to say? Gosh, I don't know, guys. It's time for me to be asleep. It's 10 a.m. Pull it together. Update on yesterday. I didn't film this part, but I did do writing related things yesterday. Mainly, I took all of the events because I had finished filling in the things that were happening in each chapter. And so I took all of the events and I input them into the sort of calendar thing. It's a very vague calendar, it just has like the months. Anyway, and it does make me want to change some things already, but some of them didn't have specific dates, you know? I mean, you guys saw, there was just like weeks, whatever. A few days passed. Anyway, so I have everything inputted, spoilers, but I have everything inputted into this if we're starting after their birthday, because they're 18, they are 18 in the first book, and it's very summary in the first book, so either it's immediately after they are 18 and before fall and winter, because like they're in school, Cindy's in school, but also it's really warm outside, and it just doesn't, when I was reading through it, it just wasn't giving me spring vibes, so I'm fairly convinced it's like summer. Who knows what I was thinking, but anyway, because of that, it's either like that August-September sweet spot before fall arrives, right after they're 18, or it's the following summer when they're almost 19, but that doesn't make sense because they're in school, and so they would have, like, they'd have graduated, you know what I mean? Anyway, so and I really don't think it's like April, May of their senior year. I don't know, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I'm gonna trust me on that. So, yeah, so this is roughly where book one it has to start sometime like August, September. And because of that, I was inputting all of the things roughly, you'll notice some of these like bracket things, which is like, I don't know, this said weeks went by, this said weeks went by, so I just made some weeks. So that might change and shift and be more or less weeks, I don't know. But the sum of it is, we've got it all the way to the epilogue, goes through March, how exciting, of book 2. Obviously book 3 is not in this calendar thing yet, but it does make me want to shift some things, move some things, because we get to, I mean, it's the middle of winter, basically, by the time we find Hope, the character for book 3, and I just feel like they wouldn't, okay, first of all, it's going to change, like, traveling, to be traveling in the middle of winter, like, that is different obstacles, that is different, that's like a whole thing. Second, it's going to change specific scenes, like this, the spoonbill scene, which is a scene I really enjoy, which is something that I added, it's not in the original book. Just like weather-wise, that particular nature scene, I don't think can be happening in December. So, I don't know how much of this is like, I need to shift around dates in terms of like, maybe it takes less time, maybe it takes more time. If the traveling takes more time, then it's like spring, you know, when we get to Hope, and the spoonbill situation can happen in the spring versus in December. Or it's a matter of like changing, like maybe it's a different nature scene. Even though I liked that one, I could come up with a different one. And other things is like, because currently they're finding Hope in December, I just feel like these people would celebrate Christmas, you know, or have some kind of like chill gathering. Like, let's take a break. Like, Hope and her crew would be like, we take these weeks off, and then maybe Hope's whole family comes. I don't know, maybe not all of them, but like, I think the holidays would be a thing for Hope. So if this is the timeline as it currently stands, then I need to add scenes and also delay the rest of book 2. You know, like, these things aren't going to immediately happen after they find Hope. It's gonna be a few weeks while we hang out. So I don't know. I don't know, man. That's where we're at. That's what I got through yesterday. I just put everything in roughly based off of the, like, so many days went by, and I was like, okay. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh. Okay. This will require some tweaking. Anyway, so we did that. Now we're at a crossroads where it's like, do I... here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I write down all the things that I'm already considering changing. Like, opening chapters. Might want to delete anything that's not necessary to Cindy's story, right? Because they're boring chapters. So maybe we don't need to see her day-to-day life at Collins. And then, second half of the book, is it winter? Are we celebrating Christmas? What needs to move? Can the spoonbill situation happen later? Anyway, the spoonbill situation is not a huge deal, you guys, but like, it's a big scene. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, make a list of these things so they're not rattling around my head, and then I can come back to them whenever I'm ready to do so. But here's the crossroads. Setting aside making the list, which I'm going to do now. We'll call that today's task. The crossroads. Do I jump straight into draft 2 and start working on this list that I'm creating? Or do I read through book 3, the original book 3, so that I can start drafting book 3? Because I intend to draft book 3. Okay, here's a thought. I'm thinking out loud. I intend to draft book 3 for the next challenge. The 15th. The 15th is when it starts. So that's 2 weeks from now. In the interim of those 2 weeks, I mean, I have to read through the original book, you know, to get an idea of what that story was, and does it still align with the story that I've now written for book 2. Yeah, anyway, need to read through the original book and then just start drafting like it was with the other one. The other 7. I really am thinking out loud. I'm sorry. You're just watching my brain process through things. Okay, what I'm processing right now is, do I, like, on the 15th for the challenge, read through book 3? Or do I start drafting then, and so I read through the week before? Which means I have 1 week before I want to start thinking about book 8 of the 8 I was rewriting. Gosh, that's exciting. And in that 1 week, could I actually feasibly do much in terms of the list of draft 2, you know what I mean? These are interesting questions. I do want to be working my story in these next 2 weeks before I start drafting for the other challenge. So, maybe dive in, but would it be weird to pause in the middle and be like, let me go draft book 3? I don't know, friends. We'll see what I decide. Today's task is making the broad list of, like, here's bullet points, here's all the things that I know I want to look at, change, whatever. And we'll go from there. Who knows what we'll be doing next week, I think is what I'm saying. Okay, I've made my little list, updating the opening scenes, cutting out extraneous day-to-day stuff, to rework the first, like, 4 or 5 chapters, and then does the timeline need to lengthen, travel take longer, Christmas break, etc. Traveling in winter will change a lot of those scenes and add different obstacles and description and whatever, so all of that needs to be looked at. Will the timeline affect Spoonbill scene, among others? Does Hope's family get introduced over Christmas break instead of waiting till book 3? Do I need to have more scenes between that character and Cindy before they depart? Because, like, they meet and then they go their separate ways, like, the next day in the current book. There's a specific conversation with Jane and Cindy about spiritual things that I think needs to be reworked. When I was reading over it, it's not that I disagree with Jane, but it just felt very platitudey and not, like, genuine. And I want Jane and Cindy's relationship. Jane is like a mother figure for her, but I want it to be real, you know. And I want her, when she's convincing her to trust God, even if he doesn't do whatever it is she's asking him to do. In that specific scene, she calls back to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, and how they say, like, even if he doesn't save us from the fiery furnace, you can still throw us in there. We're not serving other gods. Anyway, and I like that scene. I like the sentiment. I want it to stay, but reading through it, I don't know. I need to rework it a bit so it feels less fake. I don't know. Like, Jane's just saying the right answers. I don't know. Anyway, I need it to be like Jane really believes this, and she's able to persuade and convince Cindy of it. Anyway, and then the last one is, there's a scene between Hope and Cindy, where the emotions are just everywhere, because in the original book, it was more of like a playful scene. And so there's some teasing happening between them, and some smiles and whatever. And then in the new one, because of where it sits in the story, because I moved it, like I took that scene, which was from the day they met, and I moved it to the end of the story, because it's better there. But in so doing, it's actually at a place and time where they're much more serious and heartbroken, and like, it's dark, man. So in rewriting it, I have the emotions, they cry together. I also have the teasing of the original scene, which when I was rewriting it, I was like, we could probably have both, this is fine. When I was reading it last week, I was like, whoa, the emotions in this scene are all over the place. We are snapping back and forth between like grief and horror, and then just like a playfulness so fast. This is giving me whiplash. So that needs a little bit of help. Yeah, those are the main things. I was trying to think if there were any other major scenes that I was like, I need to fix this. I do want to add, oh, I should put this on my list. I do want to add more, Cassie and Colin scenes, because it does feel, I really enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot. I'm sure you picked up on that if you watched the other Get Grounded videos, but, in the original book, they basically have no scenes together. And then by the end of the story, you're like, what do you mean they're in love? So in the new one, they have some scenes together, which I loved and I was obsessing about while reading them, because I was obsessing over all the new scenes. None of that was in the original book. If you watched, what was that, week 2 vlog, I think? Or I don't know which one it was. It might have been week 1. I don't even know, you guys. But anyway, early on in Get Grounded, I was obsessing over Cassie and Colin scenes and reading them aloud. All of that was new stuff that's not in the original. The vibe was in the original, but like it wasn't on screen, you know? Anyway, I need more of that, because when reading it, yes, I loved it and I obsessed over it. But when I got to the end of the book, I was like, okay, but the love story still feels unearned. Like, there's not enough there to be like, yes, Cassie's been convinced. You've made her feel safe enough that she can let down her walls. I'm like, Cassie has not been convinced at all. Cassie has been convinced to tolerate you. Cassie would not be in love based off of the scenes that are currently in the book. So I want to add more, and I can, because like timeline-wise, their travel takes longer than all of Cindy's stuff. And so their stuff is happening, according to this timeline that I created, their stuff is happening months after all of the Cindy stuff is going on. So there's a lot of space there in the timeline where I can add more scenes during their travel, or even before they start traveling. There's a break in the story, in the narrative, like right before the girls split and go their separate directions, where there's a lot of narrative summary of like they're at the cabin and healing, and Colin is doing a lot of like physical therapy stuff with Cassie, because Cassie is determined to go back to Single State and save everyone, and the doctor is like, not right this minute, you're not. Anyway, so he's helping her to get stronger and to heal and whatever, because he knows that she's going to do this regardless. But it's all kind of in the background. Like, Cindy just casually mentions that they're doing a bunch of physical therapy stuff or whatever. But I wonder if, like, maybe Cindy should, like, sit in on a session, or notice more, like, maybe, like, they're having some banter while she's out, you know, coloring in her coloring books or whatever. Whatever it is that Cindy does. If from Cindy's perspective she starts to notice, also because very early on in the book, before Cassie wakes up, before Cassie knows who she is, Cindy is, you know, living with Colin at the opening of the story and is like, this is a great guy. What a great bachelor. I wish Cassie was more interested in boys, you know? Which is, I mean, that's not exactly what she says, but she does mention the fact that, like, he's a great dude and Cassie's single. Anyway, so she was thinking about it, you know, early on in the book, and so I feel like maybe she would notice that those two are spending time together or making each other laugh or whatever. Like, Cindy would pick up on that and be watching them and be like, is something happening here? Maybe she would also ask her sister about it, you know, because they are very close. And so, yeah, during that portion of time, before the girls separate, I think maybe there should be more Cassie and Colin from Cindy's perspective. And then once they're traveling, definitely more Cassie and Colin scenes. let me add that to my list. Okay, this is a good list. I like this list. There's probably other things too, but this is a solid, you know, start for whatever I'm doing with draft 2. I can work with this. I can work with this. I think that's probably what I'm doing. What? That's probably all I'm doing for today. And because I don't have the time today to actually start draft 2, because I have other places to be. And tomorrow I have other places to be. And Sunday I might have other places to be. So, I think this is the end of this week. And I'll be back around. I haven't done, you know what? I haven't done the last question. I should do this before I finish the Get Grounded week 4. Yeah, I'll do that, and then this will be the end. I did see updates, since I was mentioning it yesterday. I did see some more people commenting today, practicing vulnerability, so good on them. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I'll do this, and then I'll be back for week 5. Whatever that's gonna look like. Cool beans. Well, answered the vulnerability thing. Journaled it, put it in the Slack. Basically it boils down to, I have this image to protect. So I have this fear that, like, I'm not as good as people expect me to be. And so, like, based off of talking to me or hearing about my writing journey, or like the year that I wrote and published 5 books, or I don't know, just the fact that I have clients and am a book coach. I don't know. I just have this idea that people get a certain perception or idea of me based on talking to me, and like maybe I sound like I understand story and how it works, or maybe I sound like I know what I'm doing. And then they're going to read my books and be like, girl, what do you even know? This sucks. Like the perception of me knowing what I'm doing, or being good at writing, or like whatever it is that I think people think when talking to me. Like maybe people respect me as an author, but they shouldn't. Because if they read my books, they'd be like, yeah, no, you suck. So that's the fear. Yep. That's it. Don't know what I'm gonna do about that per se, but but that's it. I have this, like, I guess I don't think that I'm as good as I project myself to be, you know? And so therefore everyone else is going to see the real me if I promote myself too much, if I get too big of an audience. And that, then, you know, the facade would be broken. People would know that I am not as good as I sound when I talk about writing and stories. That's it. That's basically it. How fun. Yeah, that's great. What a good time. I'm so glad that we do this challenge so I can face my demons or whatever. Ugh. Actually, it is good. It's very good, and I love this challenge. I'm honestly so curious what I said last year, because I don't remember having a mental breakdown. Not that I'm having a mental breakdown, but dang, I was journaling today and I was like... So, the sum of it is, I don't believe in myself, and I think if other people actually read my work, they also would not. Anyway. It's cool. It's cool. Well, there you go. I did the thing. All 3 days of vulnerability. And now we're done. So, what a grand time. Next week is Deep Community, and it's basically just about, hi, that was a big sigh. It's about spending time with the women in the writing community, you know? So you have to do two things that you wouldn't normally do. Get on prickles you don't normally get on. Reach out to a hedgie you haven't talked to. Get to know people, man. Be open, be vulnerable, and talk about stuff. So, two days of that. Connection 1, connection 2. That's it. Which I think, I mean, it'll be grand. I'll enjoy that, I think. Also, next week is the convention. How is that a thing? I'm not ready for it to be March or like a week out from the first convention. Like, this was not on my radar. I mean, it was because like the books are coming in, but this was not on my radar. I was building my calendar for March last night and I was like, what in the world? I have 1 week? I have 1 week until the convention. Now I have 6 days before I have to go set up. What? I'm not prepared for this at all. Anyway. Yeah, okay, so the point being, I'm going to be making connections and promoting myself in spite of all the fears, next week, so good on me, but yeah, I'm going to have to try and figure out what, connections I can make, since I'm probably not doing my prickle, yeah, I don't know what that will look like, but, we'll see.